Welcome back. Today I want to talk about the organization of data. Many times I go out and people uh, seem to say to me that, how do I organize my data and how do I get it into a convenient way in which I can find the information? The problem that people seem to have is that you begin to save your data, and as you save your data, um, you build up data till you reach a certain point and where all of a sudden now it seems to be a big mess. And what you have to do is realize that you have to take charge of your own data. And many times people don't realize that they could put these into categories until after they've gathered quite a bit of data. Now, just to go back and recap, I want to mention that data is just the very raw files or information. It's the very raw things that you utilize. Information is actually data that has been organized in such a way that now the data becomes useful. In other words, you can have lots of files on your computer. If you can't find them, then they're really of no use to you. As an example, if you import 10,000 pictures from your camera and all of them have all these string of numbers, then you can actually sort through every file if you want to find the one that you want, but you need to organize it in such a way that it becomes useful, or you're just going to have a really hard time finding those particular files or pictures that you really want. So I thought today I would just kind of digress and just kind of go over some of the basics of a file structure and kind of explain some of the kind of best tips to do, because as you begin to build a file structure that other people use, it's so much easier if you make it into a structured manner so that everyone can learn what structure it's in, and so that they can easily find the files as well. The key to making a good file structure is to learn how to nest folders. You put one folder inside another folder. I've created this particular directory, and under it I have three basic files. One is people that I pay, one is people that pay me, and the other is my internal office. Pretty much I've found that I can, in most cases, either save it to my office, who I'm paying, or who's paying me, and I can find those folders rather quickly. Now, one of the key things about as you begin to save into servers and into something like your SharePoint is to learn to make your descriptions as simple as possible, but yet be descriptive as well. Now, there are character limitations on files or folders. You should not use any special characters. I say that. I do typically make one exception, and that's the underscore. But as you get into finding files that are in a larger folder structure or a folder path, then you'll find that spaces sometimes cause problems. So there are some conventions. I'll go into the customers folder, like this as an example. In order to make that easier to read, I capitalize G, then I capitalize the B, because that's the beginning of each word. I put an underscore, which is the special character that uh, I make the exception for, and then I put RUSS PKWY. But this turns out to be a good naming convention because it has no spaces. It makes it easy to read because I have capital letters in the first letter of each word, and it just gives you a structure in which you can find it real easily. In general, what you want to do is you want to make your file structure a very general category and move it to a specific category. So in this particular example, I'm going from customers, which is any customer. I open it up. Now I'm going to a specific customer. Then once I go into that specific customer, I would begin to build my structure as far as individual files for that particular customer. The best practices are to try to keep the structure as flat as possible. In other words, you don't want it to go 15 levels deep. Within SharePoint, there is a 256 character limitation. So you have to realize that each time that you're going down and you're adding more and more levels, you're adding more characters in that folder structure. So in order to make it the most easily accessible, then you want to try to kind of make it flat as possible, but yet have a definite path that you go to. Now, sometimes there's good reasons to take a file structure, and then once you get into a file structure and you start saving some files, let's just say I want to create a Word document, and then something comes along and now I want to change that Word document. If I change that Word document, a lot of times people change the Word document, so then they change the name. And then you wind up having 3 and 4 and 5 different versions of the product. A good method to deal with that, I'm going to copy this and paste it, is if you will go on the end of the name and put like a V1 or a V1_2 if you have a different version, and just use your V as your version and to keep giving different versions of that document. So if I had that one and then I copied it and made another different version of that same document, there may be a point in time where I want to delete the old one. But what I also may want to do is I may want to leave them in there, but now I want to maybe have a version 1_2. This lets me know which version is the latest. If I do happen to have several versions and I want to save the old ones, I may create a folder and put the old copies in it and then just leave just this one at the upper level. In talking a little bit about the OnePoint or OneDrive, there is a shared with everyone, which you can utilize, but in order for other people to see that, you have to send them the link so that they know where that information is. So just wanted to kind of touch on that for you as far as that was concerned. So as far as your directory structure, the main thing is take charge. It's best to have one person who can pretty much make final decision. And this person decides what the folder structure is. Other people will begin to learn your structure if you build a structure that is, in a pattern, so to speak. Other people will seem to learn it. If you can develop naming conventions, that is also helpful. It may be that, a certain document you change and it has a different name if it's associated with a different location. Then you may use, say, a 3-letter initials at the beginning for the naming structure, and then the 3-letter that has a different location structure for the name of the document associated with that different location. So that's, a convention that you can use there. If you get to where you have several documents that kind of become time sensitive, my recommendation is to add a 2-digit year, 2-digit day, a 2-digit year, a 2-digit month, and a 2-digit day to the name. If you do that, then if you go back and sort these, it will sort them in chronological order. If you do not use the 2 digits, then it's going to throw everything out of order. But if you'll use 2 digits for each of your 3 categories, then you can sort it so that it will put them correctly in order from beginning to end or end to beginning, whichever way you choose to sort it out. Just to touch on a couple of other little things that are convenient to know. If you go to Internet Explorer, and I'm going there, and if you go to Tools, there is an in private browsing session that you can create. This will bypass your cookies and that type thing and allow you to go to a website without your cookies coming into play. Something else that has come up with some of the later versions of Internet Explorer is the compatibility view. So if you go to Tools and go down to the compatibility view settings, sometimes if you can't get to a website, if you will add this domain name into there, then you can go back and you will be able to go to it. Sometimes it will put a little, like a broken page in the URL address bar, and if you click on that little broken page, it will move it into the compatibility view settings. But that's something that just has frequently popped up lately. Something else that's good to do on maybe a monthly basis would be to go to your internet options, go down and delete your browsing history. Now you can delete all of your temporary internet files. That's the main one that I would like to see you delete. You can also delete your history or any of this other information. Your cookies, that's kind of dependent on if you go back to a website many times and you want to save your username, you may or may not want it to delete your cookies. But the temporary internet files and your history are the main two that I would be concerned with you deleting on a regular basis, like monthly. It looks like my time is up. I appreciate your attendance. I hope you learned a few tips, and I hope you'll come back to see us often. And please answer the questions before you leave. Thank you.